We are officially live. We're officially live. Wait 1 second. I gotta make it public. Let the people come in real quick and I'll get started.
Get started now. What are we waiting for?
Hold on. I have to make it public so people can comment.
I don't want to hear about nobody's comments. I just want to focus on my conversation with you.
For sure. Okay. We are here, ladies and gentlemen. Smoothvega is in the building. Guys, I just want to tell y'all persistence pays off. It really does, bro. And I don't mess around. Y'all already know, man. Y'all know I'm here for the people. I've been here for the people since the get-go, and I'm going to continue doing that. Y'all wanted this. So many people here were in my inbox and said, hey, man, you should interview him. Man, I've been trying to interview him, and I got him here. I've been hitting him up. You know what I mean? You know, the man's a busy man, so, you know, of course, I didn't take nothing personal, you know, but it took me a little while to get him here. But now he's here.
Only because he paid me $500. No, I'm just kidding.
Send the pay before we continue.
Yeah, hit the cash out right now. You know, that's right. So,
thank you. In the name of the culture, thank you for being here, man. Let me get through my intro, though, first, okay? Today, we're sitting down with the man who comes from Fort Worth, Diamond Hill, to be exact. He's a true product of Texas hustle and heart, I believe. Starting out as an artist, he transformed his passion into purpose, shifting gears to become a manager and one of the most respected promoters in the state. With deep roots in the culture and a sharp eye for talent, he's worked with some of the biggest names, not just in Texas, but across the country. Please welcome a major force in the music and entertainment scene, Smoothvega.
Dude, that intro
oh my God.
Fire. I thought the hat was fire. I thought the Mexico hat was fire, but the intro was fire. Thank you so much.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, man. Appreciate the hat too. So it's not just Mexico, but from Mundo Vision Media as well. Double, you know what I mean? 2 birds with 1 stone type deal, man. How are you feeling, brother, first and foremost?
Feeling good, man. Feeling blessed, bro. Just glad to be alive. Glad to be here, man. I know you've been asking for a long time to do this interview, so I appreciate it, man. You know,
yeah. Yes, and the reason I wanted to interview so much is because I have a lot of respect for you, bro. I don't know you personally, but from what I've heard from other people who've met you and what I've seen you do for the scene, I have a lot of respect for you and what you've done for the culture in Texas. And if anybody here who's going to tune in tonight, they know me. They know I'm very passionate about Texas hip hop culture, and it means so much to me. And to see somebody like you ride for the culture the way you do, it's just amazing to me, bro. And it means a lot that you are taking time out of your busy schedule to be with me on this little old podcast. So thank you for that.
Nah, no problem, man. As you know, I actually have a podcast as well. And, you know, I remember pretty early on trying to get interviews and certain people not giving me the time. So, you know, anytime I could make time for it, I will. You happen to contact me today. I had some downtime. I was actually at Crystal Pop. And when I was at a video shoot earlier, you had hit me up. I was like, fuck it, I'll do it. You know what I'm saying? But, you know, I did want to thank you as well, man, because I had seen that you had did a post about Crystal and Mexican OT, and you said something along the lines of them making Texas proud. And, man, I appreciate that, you know, because as you can see right now, we've been working with her, you know, building her up, you know, prepping her for her album release here in a couple months. And I feel like, you know, that's been, it's been very evident the difference in, you know, what she's been able to do in that time frame. And I just appreciate all the support, you know, from her and the other artists that I work with as well. So thank you.
Facts, that 1,000%, because I do really believe, and it's not ever to try to get some clout. I mean, because who gets clout from that, really? You're getting clout only when you speak negative these days, right? But I do it because I really do believe in Crystal Poppin. I believe she has the sauce, bro. And I think we've been looking for representation, not only for Chicanos, but for Texas hip-hop. But yeah, right now I'm talking about Chicanos, and I believe since Selena and SPM, we've been looking for that. And I believe Crystal Poppin can take that spot and that Mexican OT.
I mean, listen, bro, at the end of the day, you know, the Mexican-American community has been very underserved. And I think for me, you know, one thing about, you know, my mission and my journey at this point in my life and in my career, to be quite honest with you, is not so much just breaking barriers, but you have to understand, like, to your point, I started as an artist. I transitioned into a talent buyer / promoter. And especially when I really started routing national tours for artists, the first thing I noticed was that there's nobody that looks like me in any of these buildings. You know, I went to LA, you know, I've been to New York, you know, I've toured the country with multiple artists, and I've worked with a lot of national recording artists. And, you know, as I was routing tours, you know, I would go to music venues across the region, and I just noticed that there was never any Latinos in the building. If they weren't the janitor, they weren't working security, we weren't in the mix. You know what I'm saying? So it's always been a real big, you know, mission for me to be able to be that representation because we are underserved. You know what I'm saying? And I think right now the 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 objective is to, you know, obviously not only find the next whatever, but find the first of so many other artists, right? And because there's a void and because we need representation and we need voices, I think there's not a better time than to be able to usher in that, however it may be. So, you know, it's always been the goal. Listen, I think when I was younger, because I just turned 40 years old, by the way. So, you know, if you see the gray hairs,
Oh, you just turned? Oh,
yeah,
happy birthday, bro. Happy late birthday.
listen, if you see the gray hairs popping out, that's why. You
Okay.
know what I'm saying? But no, man, it's always been the goal, man. It's always been the mission to elevate and to trailblaze, man. Listen, the right now, I've said this plenty of times, but like being Latino is cool right now. It's been the thing, you know, it's been in the last few years with the success of Bad Bunny, the success of Peso Pluma, the success of Sana Fe Clan, Carol G. The list goes on. Like there's been a really like solid group of talent that has ushered in, you know, music to open the doors for Latinos. And now it's just our job to be able to continue that and elevate it and do it to the best of our capabilities. So, you know, that's always been the goal. But yeah, I mean, listen, you know, going back to what I was mentioning to you about being a talent buyer during that time that I was going through those offices around those tours, you know, man, dude, it was very unique. And just to kind of see, well, shit, there's nobody like me here. You know what I mean? Like it became a responsibility, bro. And it hasn't always been easy because, you know, as you know, and I have a tattoo on my back. A lot of people don't have. I have a Spider-Man tattoo on my back that says, "With great power comes great responsibility." And it's because it's the truth. So when you take it serious and you do it for the path,
Yeah, that's what Iron Man said to Spider Man, right?
what's up? Oh yeah, I guess I don't know who said it. I just liked it.
You you don't even know the history of that saying.
Well, I like the fucking slogan, dog. I don't know about the comic book logistics behind it, but what I do know is that,
Okay, okay. Got you,
but,
got you.
but there is truth to it. You know what I'm saying? And I
Yes.
haven't, I haven't always known, you know, and I haven't always been able to identify, um, you know, the responsibility level. But I have a really good idea of that, and I have had that for quite some time now. So.
Heck yeah. Hey, so I think people can agree that when you took over Crystal Poppins management, we saw a huge push on social media. The social media presence went up, and so what the freestyles that she's been doing was that your idea?
So let's create a timeline here because what people don't realize is that I initially wanted to start a booking agency in 2023.
I remember that. Yes.
So when I was going to launch my booking agency, she was actually one of the first talents that I had spoken to because at that time, um, she didn't have any representation at that specific moment in time. And the funny thing about Crystal, a lot of people don't know this, is that in 2016, 2017, I want to say it was 16 though, I got tipped on her from a good friend of mine that passed away a few years ago. His name's G Spook, and he was like, him and another friend of mine was like, "Yo, you gotta check out this girl from El Paso. Her name's Crystal Pop." And I instantly shut it down because it sounded like a teenage little girl, Crystal Pop, and I thought it was like a 14-year-old girl, right?
Okay.
But whenever I heard of her, I always remember the name. Oh shit! Shout out to my boy Castro. I always remember her name. And at that time, man, like I didn't, you know, I wasn't really trying to manage. I wasn't really thinking about managing at that moment. But I always kept an eye on her. And I remember when she had did her deal with Ladium, and you know, because obviously she was working with GT. Um, you know, I always just monitored her success, and there were some conversations internally about me coming in and helping, even as far back as 2021. But when well, as far back as 2020, yeah, 2021, my bad. So when 2023 rolled around, um, yeah, we just started talking. I started getting to know her. But at least for me, it was very important for me to kind of put her through, you know, artist development and kind of work her through, like, you know, I understand she already knew, she already had like her thing, but kind of like let's find a way to enhance it and elevate it. So initially, believe it or not, when I took over her account, probably in May of 2023, we started this whole thing with the big boys. I don't know if you saw that. Like she was like showing love to the big boys, or like
How long? Yeah, yeah. How long have you been running her
well, that
accounts?
was 2023, May of 2023. So we did this big boy thing that it's funny because she tweeted something out like "Good morning to the big boys," and I saw it, so I called her and I said, "Hey, Crystal, I saw your tweet about big boys, right?" And I was like, "What does that mean? Like, what did you mean by it?" She's like, "Put it to you like this: Spoon. I'd rather date Biggie than Tupac." Right? I said,
Yeah,
I said, do a video saying that, and I promise you're gonna go viral. And at that time, she had 74,000 followers. So
bro. So you kind of sparked the idea for her to have that viral moment on that interview that went crazy, that shot her up past 100,000 followers. That was you helped with that.
so what happened was it was so funny, dude. I wonder if she's watching this because she just messaged me right now. The cool thing about the situation that kind of played a part in it was when we went into the interview. True story. We went into the interview with the interviewer. I pulled him to the side. I said, interviewer. He's like, "What's up?" I said, "Do me a favor. Whenever you go on camera and you ask her about her love for big boys." He's like, "What do you mean?" I was like, "Ask her if she would rather date Biggie or Tupac." I took literally what she told me over the phone and told him to do it, and he did it. And then she went viral, and it was so cool because as soon as we started doing it, I want to say probably it took no less than 30 days for her to go to 74,000, 100K, and about within like 60 days, she went to 150,000 followers. So it was instant. And then she kind of stopped doing it, and then we really kind of just over that time frame we're really just thinking of ways and kind of developing her and kind of understanding. I wanted to understand her, like every artist I work with. It is so important for me to understand who they are, so I know how to like step in and like really coach to that. So when I just took that time to learn her, bro. So anyways, we get to the end of this last year, and I was like, hey, going into this year, I want to really start focusing on putting out a project on you. Let's start creating a path for you. Let's develop a team, and let's really put this together now. Let's start tightening this up.
Okay.
And you know, I was like, this is how we're gonna roll out January. This is how we're gonna roll out February. This is what March is gonna look like. And part of the January thing was the freestyle. To your point, because I know that's what you asked. That was an accident. It was such a beautiful accident. I was in the driveway of Dairy Queen, and something just hit me. I said, "Man, I think she should do a freestyle to this Biggie What's Beef track." And I just got the idea. I reached out to a friend of mine, and then it just kind of evolved and developed. And then when I saw how great it went, I said, "Man, we could double down on this." Because one thing I always tell people, the data will always tell you what works. The public will always tell you what works. So we saw it, it worked. We doubled down, we tripled down, we quadrupled down, and we continue to do it until it no longer works. It's been working, 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 and as it's worked, it's continued to elevate her social media. But what it's also done is kind of bring the attention back to her actual rapping ability, right? Because
Yes, I
everything.
saw that. So sorry to interrupt,
No, you're
but
fine.
I noticed that. I noticed that because early Crystal, I feel like she was finding herself, but she could always rap, right? And then she got into the little era of 2023, and she started making more pop sounding stuff. You know what I mean? And then these freestyles, she's been going back to the bars. I've noticed that, bro. And it's crazy that when people say that when you do that, you don't get the attention. But the way she's doing it and in this freestyle, the way how she's doing the freestyles is a great idea. Instead of dropping whole tracks that are all lyrical, you know what I mean?
Well, yeah, no, because I think for me the biggest thing is just putting the focus on her talent, right? Because you can the social media and everything is so vanity driven, it's so number driven, it's so statistic driven. What you really got to buckle down on is like it doesn't matter all this and all that. Like what matters is the talent good, and the people will tell you if the talent is good. The numbers will reflect if the talent is good. So if we could just really tighten up on that and really just polish that, then that's what we're going to work on. And that's what we've been doing. And I said, well, this would be a good way to service your audience, to grow your audience until we get into the album. And, as we start developing the music that's going to be on the album, which, by the way, the album is fully recorded now, right? Um,
And I heard through the grapevine, she got some crazy features on it.
something like that. but but
All right.
let me tell you the beauty in this is that the songs are gonna have a lot more. They're gonna be a lot more filled out. You know what I'm saying? The songs are gonna be so much more. They're going to be music. They're going to be songs. They're not going to be, what you're seeing right now. But this is a good way to service it because to me, if we can grow her from 140 to 200 or even get her to 225 by the time the album releases, and now you have a bigger audience to service this album to, more people are going to respond and react to the music because I've told her in the most respectful way possible, hey, look, don't you could always service your pre-existing audience, but your pre-existing audience didn't make you a millionaire, right? The
Mm,
audience that we're discovering and the people that are going to find you, those are the people that are going to make you a millionaire. So let's focus on them.
nice. So I we kind of jumped into that, and so I'm gonna take it back real quick. Okay, I just want. I know you've done lots of interviews and you talked about your background, but just real quick, I wanted my people who listen to my stuff. You kind of come from a music background. Your uncles had a band. Your mom and dad hung out with the band, and your mother owned a record shop. So I think that's real cool, and I think people need to know that how it's really like it's in your DNA, bro, to be doing this.
Bro, that's really cool that you know that because nobody's ever brought that up. Like nobody's ever brought that up ever. And I was talking to my uncle the other day, and my uncle was talking about the success of those bookies. And he was talking about how whenever those bookies started, they used to do shows with my uncles. My uncles had a band called Los Rebeldes Rítmicos, and he was telling me about the first time they ever went on tour. Those bookies had played Guys and Dolls in Fort Worth, and they didn't have the equipment to play the show. But this was their first time ever playing the market. So my uncles provided them the equipment, and those bookies never forgot it. And those bookies always told them, those bookies out of their own mouth said the reason they started doing music was because they were inspired by my uncle's group. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
So my uncle was telling me like I've never looked at you know their success and been jealous. I've never looked at what they did and felt like that should have been me. But it makes me feel good to know that those bookies, were inspired and they were moved by me, by us. I mean, because it was all four of my uncles were in that group, and believe it or not, my grandfather. So funny story enough, right? I was named after my grandfather, and I was named after my uncle, right? Because my uncle's named after my grandfather. They're
Okay.
both they're both Lorenzos, but they're Lorenzo Perez. I'm Lorenzo Centeno. But um, my grandfather was actually the manager of the group. He was the one that was handling all the bookings. So
Your grandpa was the manager?
yeah, he was
That's dope, bro. That's dope.
his dad, right? I have a photo. I'm looking for it on my phone. I don't think I've ever really shared this photo, but it's a photo of my grandfather in the studio. I don't know what year this is, but it's such a cool photo, man, because it does give me a sense of like understanding that this music bug that I got bit by wasn't just like it wasn't random. The apple literally does not fall far from the tree. And
Facts.
I was literally talking to my uncle. I said, "Man, like I truly believe in my heart that I was able to take what you guys did and elevate it and take it a step further." And that's such a like it's such a cool thing to even know that and to even be able to say that because um,
Yeah.
that's a photo of my grandpa right there in the studio. You can't really
Right.
see
Oh,
it.
cool. Yeah, you kind of see. I can kind of see it. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's a cool photo.
That's cool, man.
Yeah, this is a photo of him on the soundboard right there.
Okay,
So,
cool. That's wild. That's cool,
so,
man.
so my mother
If you can send it, because what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna polish this interview up and post it on YouTube. So if you can send me that picture, I can display it.
got you. So my mother ended up opening up a record shop in the '80s. So from the time that I was born to about 1996, my mom owned an independent record shop, and that independent record shop, sold independent music titles, and also sold. We used to rent out American titles, movie titles, and also Spanish titles. So, she was on the Tejano Music Council, voting council, because she was an independent record shop. So, EMI Latin would send her product and then they would send her stuff, to her store. But I grew up very much listening to Tejano music. I was very familiar with all that stuff, that whole world. There's actually a photo that I've posted. I'm sure you've seen it of Selena. Right? This is I don't know if you see this on Instagram. It's Selena. It's an autograph photo that she had, an autograph poster that she made out to my mom and my mom's record shop, and I still have that.
Wow. You still have it?
Yeah, it's at my dad's house. It says to Maria Teresa y Santa Popular, which is my mom's name and my mom's record shop. So,
And rest in peace to your mother, by the way.
thank you. Yeah. So, there's that history there, man. There's definitely a deep rooted history when it comes to music. And like I said, the apple don't fall too far from the tree.
Facts, bro. And October of 1998, you were a 13-year-old kid in the studio, bro.
Yeah.
Did you ever imagine at 13 years old that you would become this promoter, this and a well-respected promoter, not just a promoter, bro, a promoter on a large scale, and a manager of some great artists? Like, did you imagine that at that age?
I think if you asked me in October of 1998, because the first time I ever went to the studio was on October 23rd of 1998. I remember it like yesterday because it was the day that changed my life. Right? I was a troubled kid. Somebody gave me an opportunity and said if I stayed out of trouble, that they would let me go to the studio. They would take me to the recording studio because I had taken an interest in rap. But that day changed my life. I don't know that if I would have told that kid that one day I would be able to experience the things that I experienced, that I would believe it. But deep down in my heart, I'm not surprised because I believed from the time I told my mom and my dad I wanted to do music, and really my whole family, they kind of dismissed it. They were like, whatever, right? But
Mhm.
I've always been persistent. I've always had a passion for what I do. I love what I do, and I love it, right? So I don't know if there's ever been a point in time where I can honestly say, well, this was going to happen or that was going to happen. But
Got you, because yeah.
I don't think I'm surprised. I don't, because when you work hard, bro, the
Let's
only
go.
only
Let's go.
only byproduct of working hard is going to be success or whatever it is that the goals that you're trying to attain.
Facts, man. Cool, man. So, you did the rapping thing, and then you transitioned, and you started throwing your own shows. You became a promoter. I wanted to ask you a very important question, and why is it so hard? Like, did you start doing local shows first,
Yeah,
like just local rappers?
I don't even think that I did local rappers. I think I initially started like the first really self-promoted event I did was actually in 2006, and it was funny because I had did a series of shows where I got booked for, where I got paid, and my first paid show was $100. So anytime a promoter would hit me up, I'd be like, "I'm worth $100." Then I'd be like, "Well, I'm worth $200," right? So I would steadily try to increase my value. But the very first promoted event that I did was actually a video shoot that I did, and it was just me. I don't really, I didn't, I knew rappers like around the area. I was cool with a lot of the guys, but I always did it on my own for the most part. And then when I finally got to the point where I started doing like bigger events, it was like a cross because I did all age events. I was doing dance competitions, and in the dance competitions, I would basically, I would, yeah, I would just kind of, do a little bit of stuff on there. But yeah, I mean, it was just kind of like that whole era was different. That whole era was honestly probably I always look back at it with fond memories because it was probably the I consider like probably the peak of like because it was when it first happened, bro. You know what I mean? There's
Yeah,
nothing like the first time, bro. So when I started selling out shows, man, you got to remember, bro. I was doing social media marketing before it was called social media marketing. I had a social media presence
let's
before
go.
that was even a thing. Like I was on CPixel, Mi Gente, I was on MySpace. I would promote on forums, on message boards, and when MySpace rolled around, I really was utilizing it in a way to redirect people to my shows. And at that time, we didn't have online sales, so when people would come to my shows, it would be pure walk up. And when you go from only making $100 to $250 a show to doing your own events, and now you're making $3,000, and now you're making $8,000, and now you're making $12,000, like it really changes your perspective on how you view the business. And if I would have known now, or if I would have known then what I know now, I'm sure a lot of things would have been different. But I'm glad that I went through what I went through to get to the point that I'm at to understand, that side of the business.
Got you. So, my original question was, why is it so hard for local rapper like to have? Is there money in throwing local shows with local rappers
It just depends, man. It depends with the
with no headliner, no celebrity headliner?
Yeah. I mean, is there a way? Yeah, there is, but it depends on what the expectation is, right? Expectations have to be realistic, right? Like, are you going in with the intent to be like, all right, I'm going to do a show with 5 local artists, but this show is going to make us all rich? Probably not, right? If you're realistic about what your expectations are, I truly believe that you're going to be able to have successful shows. But you also have to remember, bro, like success is defined differently by everybody else. Like the way you view success is different than the way I view success. the way that somebody else might view a successful show might be different than the way somebody else views a successful show. So you just have just knowing what your target is. If you're, to me, a win is performing in front of a new fan, period, right? But if you can perform in front of 30 new people, 40 new people, 50 new people, 100 more new people, like that's a win, bro. Like it truly is a win. So, uh, can it be
Nice.
profitable? Yes. Is it lucrative in the sense of like you're going to get rich? Probably not, right? But I would encourage anybody that isn't getting booked to find a way. So if you're not getting the bookings, man, go out there and do it yourself. That's all I ever did. Like I I I looked at my favorite rappers and I said I want to work with them, and I found a way to do it through booking them, and I just continued that as time went on. And to your point, like when I transitioned into like promoting shows, like really promoting shows, I was booking artists that I was a fan of before anything, and then I created working relationships with them that I still have to this day. But they're people that I truly believed in and that I respected, and that I was like, yo, I want to really build with these people. And yeah, so I mean, it just depends what the goal is. But yeah, I think there is a way to do it. Just again, be realistic about what it is that you're going into it with in terms of expectations.
Gotcha. So you started a podcast, you started a YouTube channel, Premiere Live TV, and you're podcasting pretty heavily right there for a moment, bro. You had the Bun B interview, which a clip of it went crazy viral, man. You
Everybody
fucking
did that.
Chris Perez, man. That shit was wild, bro. Why no more podcasts?
It's not that. Listen, man. To be honest with you, as you can see, it's high. It's high quality, right? It's literally, in my opinion, it's overproduced for a podcast. Like it's a fucking TV show, right? But man, I mean, listen, dude, I would love to do it. It just costs a lot to produce it. Like I pay out of pocket for that, and as you know, through YouTube monetization, like you can make some money off of it, but like it does cost a lot to produce it. And honestly, I have a standard. Like I want to, and believe me, I'll still produce more episodes. But if I go out and I produce episodes, bro, I want it to be stuff that like is cool, like the same way that I did with shows. Like it was true to me, right? Like if you go to my YouTube channel, you'll see interviews with me and Jay Prince, me and fucking Bun, like you said, Royce or whoever it is, right? Like Julio Cesar Chavez, like these are
Yeah,
people.
that was wild, bro. I
Yeah,
couldn't
like,
believe that one.
yeah, like these are people that I'm fans of. That these are icons to me. People that are like, it's for me to be honest with you. Like I just love the conversation aspect of it and
Mm.
being able to document it. If all else for me, but yeah, man, I don't think that I've stopped doing it completely. I just don't do it as frequent. But if somebody calls me tomorrow and says, "Hey, Shaquille O'Neal wants to do an interview," I'm in the studio that day doing the interview. You know what I'm saying? It just has to be worth me wanting to do it and me wanting to invest into the production as well. But like, believe me, bro, like there's days where I wish I had a weekly podcast because podcasting, as you know, you're storytelling, but it also helps your mental health. It keeps you busy. It's a
Yeah,
passion, and you're able to kind of meet people through this. So yeah, bro. I mean, I
yeah.
definitely would love to do it again.
It's exactly. I love it because my regular friends, the people that I hang around with, aren't really into the same things that I'm into. So when I have these conversations, these interviews with other promoters, managers, hip hop artists, I can talk about this stuff. You know what I mean? The stuff that I'm into. So that's dope. You know what I mean? That we could do that through this fashion. So you've worked with so many artists. It's insane, bro. We'd be here all day if we went through all of them. But I wanted to ask, how was it working with Nipsey Hussle?
Man, dude, that one right there. If I had to really fall back and I had to really assess and analyze like a list of artists that proud of working with, it's endless for the most part because I have worked with a lot of people. But working with Nipsey Hussle, that deal was very interesting because I remember the agent at the time. Her name's Erin Larson. She was at Paradigm Agency. I had booked the debut, tour through her. She reaches out to me, and we did really good business with her. And Erin was one of the people that was a huge ally of mine. And in terms of in terms of the agency world, easily one of the people that was influential in helping me kind of elevate on the promoter side, right? She actually, I actually emailed her the other day and I thanked her because we hadn't spoken in years, but she manages Playboy Cardi now. And anyways, so she reached out to me. She said, "Hey, Lorenzo, do you want to book Nipsey Hussle's Victory Lap tour?" And I had just went to a mixer where I had met, him and his team for the first time, and this was probably about February of 2018. And I said, "Yeah, whatever it takes, let's do it. I want to do it." And she's like, "Look, Lorenzo, Live Nation is buying the whole entire tour. He's only doing 8 cities. He only wants to do the highest streaming cities, and he wants to sell out. But Live Nation's buying all 8. They're only offering this much money. If you can offer this much more money, which was about $10,000 more combined, right? Because I did Dallas and I did Houston, I'll give you the shows." I said, "Fuck it, let's do it. I don't care. I need that on my resume because I was so, at that time, it was so important for me to bulk up my resume. So many people focus, on the end result, but they never focus on the process to get to the end result. So it was so important for me at that time to be able to elevate. And, a lot of promoters go into the business with the mindset that you have to be profitable in every event. And the goal is always to be profitable, but nobody wants to lose money, right? Quote unquote. But in my case, even if I didn't profit or I didn't profit as much, it wasn't going to be a loss because I was forever going to be able to have that on my resume. You understand what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
that gave me credibility. It gave me equity. It gave me buying power. It did more for my brand and my company than shows that I may have made way more money with because I had that name on the resume. You understand what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
I agreed to pay the extra money, and I remember Live Nation was like, "No, he can't do it." Because we were trying to do him at House of Blues, they're like, "He can't do it here because we want to buy him, and because we're both bidding on the same date. Fuck that, we're not going to sell it to him." So I was stuck without a venue, and I made the executive decision to reach out to House of Blues and work it out, and we were able to work it out. So there was such a process just to get the dates. So much so that even to this day, I never got the email data from all my buyers from the show because they wanted to withhold the information. But I didn't care
Oh,
because I used to get all my emails from my mailing list to let them know about my upcoming shows or whatever. But with the Nipsey tour, man, I'm very proud of it because it took a lot to happen. I did overpay, but the show still sold out. And I think because in this business, right, the promoter world, there's so much stigmas that are attached to the word promoter, right? Promoters often looked at as a negative word. Like I used to hear this all the time, man. "Hey, don't use the word promoter around me, man. It makes me want to take a shower. It's such a dirty word, right?" And I would try to say, "Well, I'm a talent buyer, right? Or I'm a whatever, right?" The reality of it is that a lot of promoters need to rely on a number of things to sell tickets to sell out, right? They charge performers to perform, or they'll have 10 opening acts to try to fill up the room, right? So it was a challenge not only to get the show, but it was also a challenge to be able to sell the show out with nobody else. And luckily enough for me, Nipsey's team, right, did not allow opening acts. So when we went out there and we did these shows sold out with no openers. So now I not only got these shows, but I sold out these 2 shows with no opening acts, just pure promotion. And so, in that sense, that show for me was very special because I not only was able to land the show, both of the shows, but I was able to sell that many tickets with no opening acts, with no support. So there's no way that anybody can discredit me as a promoter with these shows and say, "Well, he needed 10 opening acts or he needed to charge people." Like, I didn't need any of that. It was just solid promotion. So I'm really proud of it. But also, creating a working relationship. I was with Nipsey and his team, a month before he passed away, and I still have a relationship with his manager or the person that was his manager. I still have a relationship with him to this day. So yeah, dude, it was special, bro. For real. Yo, I can't hear you. Can you hear me? I can't hear you. I can't hear you. The fuck? Unmute your stuff. I can't hear you. I can't hear you. Are you on Metro PCS? Yo, what the fuck's going on? Bro, I can't hear you. I can't hear you. can't. There you go. You said 1 minute. Oh, okay. He's pointing at his ears. He's saying he has to clean his ears. Use your fucking computer mic, bro. Unmute your TV, bro. Unmute your computer. Imagine being in the middle of a great conversation.
Yo.
There you go. You're back. You're back. You're back.
You hear me?
I can hear you now.
Yeah, my wireless mic died, and I got my other backup, but it didn't want to connect. I don't know why. All right, yeah. So I heard that last thing you said. I wanted to ask you, okay, what's your definition of an artist manager, bro? Just real quick, what's your definition of a good artist manager?
That's a loaded question, but I don't know if I can answer that in a 5 minute. That's going to take a lot, but I think at its core, the definition of a great manager, in my opinion, is someone that could create opportunities for you, someone that could create a game plan for you, right? Not only create a plan and create a strategy, opportunities, but most importantly, man, like true management is a partnership. It's a marriage, right? You go into business, you're married with one another, and you have to have you have to have trust in one another. You got to be able to trust the artist. The artist has to be able to trust you, and most importantly, within that, you you have to be able to advocate for your talent when they're not around, right? Make sure that their name is in conversations even when they're not there, right? The it's a selfless position because the artist gets they're the face of everything, right? But I truly believe that it takes a team to build anything, right? You know what I'm saying? I always tell people there's no I in team, but there is I in winning, right? Like, but it does require a team to elevate. But I think really at its core, if you have someone that you could trust, someone that can create opportunities for you, someone that could advocate for you, because I think advocating is such a big part of this, right? Like whether or not my talent is around me or not, if I could put their name in conversation and if I could create opportunities for them, then I will. I remember when I took over Frankie J's business, right? When I started working with Frankie, Frankie has a very storied career. He's a legacy act. He's someone that's toured the country more times over than anybody that I know personally, right? Like he's been a very successful touring artist over the last 20 plus years. But I saw the opportunity with him and I made phone calls. I started reaching out to people. I started like fishing for the opportunities for him. And he didn't know it. I just did it on my own. And then I started reeling in opportunities for him because that's what a great manager's supposed to do. But one thing that I think Never Die told you is that I'm a hybrid, right? I'm a new age executive, a new age manager, like because of the background that I've experienced as a promoter, as a talent buyer, you know, as an artist, because I still can songwrite, I can still produce music, and all these roles that I've been able to play, I'm able to kind of apply that in a way that I'm not just a manager. I can act as a producer. I can act as a booking agent. I can offer the services of like social media marketing and social media promotion or whatever fucking adjective you want to use for strategy, right? I'm able to do those things because a lot of times whether it be record labels or whether it be independent artists that say, you know what, man, like I need to get better in this area. They go and they hire somebody to do those things, right? So
Yeah.
if they had a $10,000 budget, a $20,000 budget, a $50,000 budget, they allocate X amount of dollars to these people that do those things. The thing is, I'm an all inclusive type of situation. You know what I mean? So I do all of those things. And that's stuff that people may not ever know and people don't need to know because that's not their business, right? But I think to me, to be a really great manager and to be able to have success in this role, you have to be able to do that. Attain resources, leverage your resources, and and just really kind of build in that game plan and trust. And I think everything else will fall in place. But advocating is such a big part of it, and just being able to to have a mission and an objective. Because I think way too often people go into working relationships without a vision, and understanding one another's vision is so important. But more than anything is having a plan. What good is driving 100 miles per hour in a car if you don't know where you're going? Eventually, you're going to run out of gas. You got to be able to have a destination, and I think just being able to understand one another is important. So, I mean, I could go on. I could go on and
Yeah,
on,
for sure.
but
We
hopefully that gives you a little context.
thank you very much. Yes. Do you think it's? Do you think is it hard to manage more than one artist?
I mean, it can be. I mean, it can be. I think ultimately the reason why that's always a challenge is because I look at talent individually. Like I don't couple them together, right? That's the misconception of it. It's like you own a Mexican restaurant, you own a pizzeria, you own a Starbucks. Like they're all their own businesses. They all have different clientele. They all reach different audiences. Uh, I think as long as there's a game plan for every one of them, it's not as hard as one would assume. But everybody wants your time. Like everybody wants my time. I'm sure, and there's probably a sense of like everybody wants a little bit of that exclusivity. But if I'm able to allocate, I always tell people this: I will give you 100% of my time whenever it's your time for me to give you that time. I can't give you 100% of my time all the time because then I'm not going to have a life, right? So I will give you 100% whenever I'm dedicated the time to you. So if me and Crystal are going to work with each other for 1 week, for that 1 week, I will give her my 100%. And not to say I wouldn't give it, outside of that, but it's like, you know, I have to, be able to give everybody time accordingly. And sometimes certain people, want more, demand more, or ask for more. But for the most part, like I don't think it's as challenging as one would assume, but it can be. It can be because at the same time, what if all four or all three, let's just say I have five artists, right, or six artists, or three artists, or two artists, it doesn't matter. But let's just say they both take off at the same time. That's when it's now I have to learn how to delegate. Now I have to learn to bring in other team members. Now I have to learn to you know have other hands involved. But I think that's something that you have to be able to forecast in that sense. And I feel like I've been able to do that. But it can be, but it's not necessarily. I don't know if that answers the question.
So how does it work? Like if Crystal Poppin, like you're the manager, right? So like every time she hits up with the opportunity, just go to the manager, right? What happens when your artist takes an opportunity without consulting you?
Luckily enough, that hasn't happened. That's never happened to me, to be honest with you.
Is that what is that like in the contract? Don't do that. The artist.
Oh, it's not. It's not even that it's in the contract. It just never happened to me. There's such an understanding between me and the talent that I work with that that just never happened. Has never happened, luckily enough. But for the most part, like if an artist goes, hey, I'm gonna go hang out with them, I'm gonna go do a song. Comes another artist, like I don't give a shit. Like do whatever you want, right? But when it pertains to like a deal, like they usually, I'm always involved in any deal. Like that's just, I don't know. I've just never been faced with that. Believe it or not, man. I don't know what
Yeah.
to say. You know what I mean?
If an artist does want to work with somebody, do you not do like a do you not check their background first, like stuff like that?
What do you mean? Oh, like if they go and collaborate with somebody. For the most part, the artists that I work with, they're all gonna work with artists that they understand the business enough to know like if it's not a situation that's gonna enhance their brand, or they don't see a situation going past a certain point, or if they're just fans of the artist, like bro, that they're more than allowed to do whatever they want to do. Like I'm not like you have to do it my way or it's no way. Like nah, whatever you want to do, man. But in terms of a deal, like I don't think I've ever been part of a situation that I was like at least any artist I've ever met. Like, it's always been pretty. I've always been involved.
Are you still managing XB Valentine?
Absolutely, man. XB, man, I love XB, and I think right now, I'm so glad you asked me about XB because XB has a really big record coming out in May. And I'm very excited about that record. The one thing about her is, and this isn't to take anything away from her greatness and her brilliance and how much potential I see in her, but I've always treated her as a developmental situation because when I found her, I saw something that nobody else could see. And over the years, I've been able to try to I've been shining it, polishing it, but she hasn't necessarily gotten to a point to where she's fully comfortable being who I know she can be, and we're getting closer to that. I think last year she grew on her socials a lot because I'm like, listen, man, girl, you're a triple minority, right? You're a woman, you're Mexican American, and you're an LGBT artist, right? And those are all three separate communities, right? The Mexican American community is a very passionate community, and they're going to support you because you're one of their own. But the LGBT community is its own community as well. Like literally, XB Valentine, if she owns being that, can literally make a living off of Pride festivals alone because that's its own world, right?
Hmm.
So really kind of, having her understand because nobody wants to be pigeonholed, nobody wants to be stereotyped, nobody wants to be quote unquote boxed in, nobody wants to be labeled anything. But when you have such a core group of people that are just waiting to support something that looks like you, that sounds like you, why would you run from that? You understand what I'm saying? Like run to because right now within that Mexican American LGBT space, you really only have Stone Product, right? There's a handful of other artists, but that's who you have. And you don't sound anything like her. You know what I'm saying? So like you can be an alternative to that if even that. Like you could just it's not even a thing. Like y'all are two separate artists, but you now are giving a variety to that audience that wants to support. And so why not continue to buckle down on that? Remember when we talked about the freestyles earlier?
Yes.
I said when it works, double down, triple down, quadruple down, and continue to do it until it no longer works. Anytime we've ever focused on that aspect of her career, she succeeds, she elevates, and it grows. So I mean, I'm excited so much about her song coming out in May because we're rolling it out the last week of May, and then we're gonna advertise it and really put a marketing plan behind it all of June, which is Pride Month, which is obviously for the LGBT community. But she has a really big record coming out. I'm excited about it with another prominent LGBT Mexican American artist.
Nice. Would if SPM got out this year, would you book him or interview him?
I don't think I would book him. And I've already interviewed him. I have an interview with him on my YouTube channel. Believe it or not, that interview actually was the first time he shouted out Mexican OT and Mexican OT shared that on his Instagram when he had like 4,000 followers.
That's
So
right. I remember that. I remember that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I've already interviewed him, but it
But
depends.
would you interview him like in person when he if he got out this year on parole? Would you interview him face to face?
Man, I don't know. I think it depends the circumstances, bro. It really depends. Like I feel for me, like well, he's not gonna get out this year for one, but
I know. But if it,
but
yeah, I already know that he got denied bond, so we got to wait 2 more years for another parole board meeting.
I don't know.
But
I don't know. I don't know. I think if I did it, it would only be for views. I don't feel for me like that's not why I do stuff. Like I don't do stuff for views for clickbait. I do stuff for purpose. I always tell people I don't move for money, man. Strippers move for money, man. I move for purpose. So I don't know. I mean, I don't want to say no, and I don't want to say yes, but I'm leaning towards no. I'm leaning towards no.
got you. W- were you behind XB Valentine's idea to make a video saying that she was not going to perform at Day of Unity?
I don't want to say I was behind it, but did I encourage her for sure? Because the biggest thing about this was that at the end of so in 2021, I believe he shouted her out, right? Or 2021, he shouted her out, and it was a moment, and she was happy. But because you know she's experienced what he's in prison for, right? Um, she started letting me know as far back as the end of 2022, like, hey, like remove all mentions of him on my page. I don't want to be associated with this. So there was a long paper trail of this prior to her deciding, you know, I don't want to have nothing to do with this. And so for me, like I just, whenever basically long story short, people started contacting her through Instagram to perform at the Day of Unity. And to your point, remember you asking me a little while ago, have they ever done deals outside of you? Both her and Crystal got approached separately, but it wasn't they didn't approach me. So they brought it to me. and I didn't tell them not to do it. I think Crystal was initially going to do it, and then when they asked XB,
Oh, she was Crystal Papa was thinking about doing it.
she was originally going to do it. Yeah, I think initially she had committed to doing it, but she was kind of uncertain because what was happening was during that time, whoever was kind of being the person in between, SPM and the talent being booked, they were just contacting the artist directly. So she got a call from him directly, and then XB was walking around. I think she was at the airport, and he called her, and she didn't answer. But I guess it was like I don't know. He called her once or twice. I don't know how many times, but she was like, "Dude, I didn't even give this guy my number. What the fuck?" Like, so we discussed it, and I was like, "Man, why don't you just talk about it?" And she did, and I think she's an introvert, bro. She doesn't like attention like that. I mean, she's an artist, but she's a true artist, and she's never made a career off of being clickbait. That's not what she does. She's just all about the art, and when she started seeing all the wave of attention, it definitely got uncomfortable for her, and she just said, "You know what? I said what I had to say. I'm out. I'm done. That was it." But
Gotcha.
I don't want to say I was the brains behind it, but I definitely was like, if you feel that way, just fucking do it. You know what I
Gotcha.
mean? The thing you have to understand about managing talent is that, you know, the most success. I'm gonna go off the handle here for a second, or off subject for a second. But I grew up watching professional wrestling. I'm very passionate about professional wrestling, but not because of the 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 wrestling, right? Everybody's like, it's fake, right? I'm like, no shit, motherfucker. Of course,
Yeah.
right? But I'm intrigued by the character building. I'm intrigued by how talent gets enhanced. I'm intrigued by how they're able to market and promote this one product and keep it going year round, selling out arenas all across the country. Right? I'm intrigued by it. And I've talked to a lot of pro wrestlers on my podcast, and they said the most successful pro wrestlers are themselves with the volume turned all the way up. Right? So I encourage every talent that I work with to be themselves with the volume all the way turned up. And so if XB feels passionate about something, if Crystal Popper feels passionate about something, be that and be that all the way. Don't halfway be that, because people will see that and they'll see that you're not confident in being who you can be. So um, that being said, she did it. She said it. Came in and went. I haven't heard about it till today. So you know um, that's kind of it.
Gotcha. Thank you so much. We're wrapping it up. Thank you. I appreciate you
Fuck,
giving me.
I agreed to 2 hours. You paid me for 2 hours. We only used 1 hour. What the fuck, dude?
We go for 2 hours if you want to go for 2 hours.
Yeah, man, fuck this.
Well, 'cause I told you 45 minutes, and we're passing that. I just wanted. I mean, I still got some questions to ask you.
You can ask whatever.
Yeah, man, for sure, man. So, I know it's a touchy subject. Touchy subject. Um, um, I got people want info, and I'm providing it to them as the best way I can. So I wouldn't be doing my job if I'm not asking you these questions. You can pass. You can do whatever you want, and I respect it 1,000%. I think everybody can agree when we say that you and Louis the singer were a great duo, and I'm not asking you to get into details or nothing like that. But how does a relationship like that just end like that?
Uh, I don't think it's ended.
Okay, a hiccup. Y'all are brothers, right?
Huh?
A hiccup.
I don't think it's ended. I don't think it's ended at all.
You don't think it's ended at all?
Not at all.
So what did we see on social media?
Uh, Listen, man. I think this is kind of where, like, for me, can I be honest?
Yes.
I don't think it's any of your business or anybody's business, to be honest.
Say it again. I'm sorry.
I don't think it's any of your business or anybody's business for that matter. And I think that whole situation needs to stay offline. So, out of respect to the situation, I'm gonna keep it offline.
Facts. No, no. That's what I said. If you don't gotta ask, you don't have to answer.
Yeah.
Facts. I got you. Okay. No problem. No problem at all. I had to ask it. People were telling me to ask it. Okay, so I did my job, guys. All right, I know they wanted me to ask it, but so not talking about Louis, but that's the best thing to do, right? Because it's a professional relationship that you have with your artist, right?
I feel like I have a personal relationship with everybody I work with. You know,
Is that a smart thing to do to have a personal relationship
I think
with?
I think you have to have a personal relationship in order to have a professional relationship because the foundation of a professional relationship should start with some form of a personal relationship. Now, obviously, you don't want to get too tied in, but for the most part, like there's no way you can have a really really solid working foundation without having a personal foundation because you have to know one another. You can't just jump into business. You can't get married to a stranger. You can't get married to someone you don't know. Like you got to date, motherfucker. You can't just go and say we're getting married. And then they become somebody you don't know. So yeah, man. But I will say this too, man. Like obviously, doing your platform. You've been asking me for a while to do your interview. And I did your interview and I agreed to do the interview. But one thing I want to touch on, man, is it's so important that when you decide to go into the space of being a podcaster and doing interviews, and you decided, hey, you know what? Like I want to be a platform. Right? I want to be a voice.
Yeah,
It comes with the responsibility. It's already hard enough for Mexican Americans to get their foot in the door as musicians and in this music industry and to get taken serious, especially on the American side. So I say that to say that my challenge to you and to anybody, right? Because you mentioned my podcast, you mentioned that I've had big guests and I've had success with my podcast. I've always done it with integrity in the sense of like I've never really tried to like grab headlines or sensationalize stuff because to be honest with you, I don't need to. And I don't think you or anybody needs that. Like, don't be the soap opera messy platform because at the end of the day, there's already enough division within the Mexican American community. Don't perpetuate it. You know what I'm saying? So that's just my advice to you off the record, but or on the record, better yet. But nah, man, listen, I mean, I do have a great relationship with everybody I work with, and I do that because
well, let me respond to that. See, I mean, it's what you consider what's being messy.
correct.
Um, I don't. I think you're talking about my question about Louis the singer. So I don't think that's messy. And of course, when anybody's doing anything that they feel passionate about and they feel like they're a professional about, then they want the headlines. That's just straight up
Correct.
views. It's I'm my channel. I have it monetized. I want people to watch it, right? Not only because it's monetized though, but it is monetized and it is a way to feed my family. Okay, so that's one thing. But at the same time, I do have a following. I do have people that want this information. So without people like me trying to get not getting the information, they're not getting the information. You know what I mean? So what happened with you and Louis the Singer was put out into the world already. You did that. You made that decision.
I mean,
Louis the Singer made that decision. Y'all did that. That was y'all's thing. I didn't make y'all argue on social media. I didn't make those posts. That was not me. But I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't touch on that subject and speak on it. How is that causing division for my culture?
because you went in it with the intent to try to get something out of me, right? You wanted to know, but I didn't say it. And here's the thing: you say that people want to know, but why do they want
Because Louis the Singer is a big name. You are a big name. You're not just a manager. You're a persona. You're a social media person. You've had your podcast. You do your short videos where you get people's attention and go viral. You put your face on the net. You're a public figure. Louis the Singer is also. Y'all put y'all's own personal beef online. The people seen it. The people want to know the story.
it? Not everything's meant for another, right? So I'm telling you, it's nobody's business. So just respect it.
Facts. And I already told you.
Because I'm going to tell you something real quick.
No, I told you, bro. Hold on. Real quick. Before one second, I'll let you go. But right before that, I said you don't have to answer. But I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't ask that question. I said respectfully, I'm gonna ask it. You don't have to answer it, and I will respectfully move on to the next question.
But you're
And
not.
that's what I did.
But you're not moving on. And here's the thing, too, man. I agree to do the interview, right? So we're like almost an hour in. I don't want to feel like the interview was only being done for that reason.
Say it again. I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
We've been on this. fucking interview for about an hour, and I don't want to feel like the only reason you did the interview was for that question. You understand what I'm saying? Because you're using words like beef. You're using what there is none of that. Like, bro, you have to understand. I have an 18-year relationship with somebody. When I have an 18-year relationship with anybody, that word doesn't exist to me. And if you have to hear it, I always got love for him. I still do. So why would I share that with anybody? That's nobody's business. And
Facts. No, I agree with you.
we'll take care of it. Between me and him, it's the only people that matter. Nobody else, bro. Simple.
Yeah. And that's awesome. And I hope y'all do figure it out because y'all are the dynamic duo, and y'all are good representation for the culture for Chicanos, and I hope y'all do figure it out.
No, no, man. Listen, bro. I mean, I'm proud of everybody I work with, and I'm proud of every single person that. And I'm proud of him. I'm proud of the town. I'm proud of anybody that's representing it, right? But especially when I see it through, man. Listen, bro. I've said this time and time again. Every single talent I work with will succeed with or without. I consider myself a steroid shot, so I consider myself someone that helps the situation grow. But at the end of the day, like it's gonna go with or without me. You know what I'm saying? So it's all love no matter what. But that situation is its own thing, man. Out of respect to that situation, I'm not gonna talk about it, bro. It doesn't that's just
Okay, respect. We don't have no. Thank you. No, of course.
it's all love.
Yeah. But that's all good. I just had a couple questions, and then we'll wrap it up because I know we've said
Yeah,
for
we're going for another hour, motherfucker. Let's go for another hour. God damn, bro. What the fuck?
no. We can wrap it up if you want. You got to go.
No, we can keep on going, bro. What's down, bro?
Hey, just one real quick, man. What advice do you want to give to any up and coming promoter in the game? That's because I was a promoter for a little while.
Are you ready?
It got too hectic. I couldn't
Yeah.
do it. What advice can you give them real quick? Listen, this on a positive note.
I think I don't know if it would just be for promoters, man. I think, first of all, I don't give this advice to anybody, bro. Define what success means to you, right? Because people define success differently, right? Some people define success as money. Some people define success as um, metrics, social media engagement. Some people followers, YouTube, all that stuff. People have different definitions of what success is. So you have to understand you have to run your own race, right? Because comparison is the thief of joy. When you find yourself comparing yourself to other people, it deprives you of being happy and feeling like, man, what the fuck, bro? Like you're always looking at what the next person's doing. You need to focus on you and what you're doing and what you're trying to accomplish. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? And I truly believe that. So first and foremost, identify that because if you go into any realm of business, it doesn't matter if it's music, it doesn't matter if it's the restaurant business, it does not matter, right? If you get into any realm of business and you don't have a clear definition of what success means to you, then you're just running in circles, bro, right? So I think that's the first and most important thing to identify and establishing when you're trying to do this, right? Or do anything that you're doing. So that's the first piece of advice. And the other thing is, man, dude, no one's going to be better at being you than you, right? No one's going to be better at being you than you.
Yeah.
And listen, as far as like artists or people that are in this industry that want to get into the business or that want to be promoters, it's not easy. It's not overnight. Anything worth having requires hard work. You understand what I'm saying? Nothing comes easy, and it doesn't happen right away. I'm a firm believer that people leave the way they came in. So if they come in fast, they're gonna leave fast. If they come in fucking 10 years, 15 years to get there, right? They're gonna be here for 15 years, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, you mentioned Louis a little while ago, man. That dude worked his ass off for a very long time, bro, before he got his break. You know what I'm saying? And that's the truth, right? So these Krista Poppin right now, as you're talking about her, you mentioned she's great representation, right? That girl's been working hard for 10 years, bro. 10 years. And she's had great foundational work, right? She's had great mentors along the way. People like GT Garza, people that have been in this business that have been able to kind of, you know, create the early beginnings and the early inner workings of what she's eventually going to become, right? XP Valentine, bro, she's been doing this for a very long time. they always say most overnight successes take what 10 years. You know,
Mm.
you mentioned something at the top of this interview. You said, "Man, you went into the studio in October of 1998." I did my first self-promoted event in 2006. I started having success as a promoter in 2007. It's 2025, brother. It is fucking the Jetsons. Motherfuckers are flying in the air, Cybertrucks. You know what I'm saying? Like this is the future, bro. This is the future that we would see on TV one day, where we're gonna be able to fucking have robots and all that crazy stuff. Like this is we're living that now.
Yeah.
But I made, and it's not all about revenue. It's not all about income. But I remember in 2022, I remember looking at my income for the year, right? Whenever I did my festival and I did all the stuff I did that year, and I looked at it, bro, and I got emotional because I remember whenever I didn't have a fucking dollar to my name, right? I remember the many of times that I went broke doing this, right? And all I've ever wanted to be for anybody outside of being a manager, a mentor, is I just wanted to show people that, look, if I can do it, you can do it, right? Number one thing that I want to leave everybody with today is that there is a gift in initiative, right? What does that mean, brother? It means this: there's a gift to just doing it. Most people don't do it. Most people watch people do it. Just do it. Take initiative to do it. The only reason why I had success as a promoter is because I just did it. I booked. You know what I'm saying? I
Mm.
never. I said I'm gonna do it, and I did it. That is a gift, and it took me so long to realize that a lot of people aren't wired like that. So if you want to have success as a promoter, as a rapper, as a podcaster, as an influencer, as what the fuck ever, my son's in the back, whatever it is, right? Initiative, bro. Take initiative, bro. I promise you, if you take initiative, everything else will start to fall into place. But it starts with that, and then I think everything else will start kind of falling into place because there's so many steps in all of this, bro. There's so many things that have to fall into place for you to be able to have a path to get to where you need to get to. You understand what I'm saying? And
I,
that's the truth. And don't be prideful, man, because way too many times people like to take pride in like doing things on their own. But understand, bro. Look, if my car broke down today, right? If my car fucking broke down, sure, I can eventually find a way to fix it, but it's gonna take me a long time to figure out how to fix it because I'm not a mechanic. I
Mhm.
would rather pay the mechanic to fix it so I can keep it rolling, right? The same thing in your field, the same thing in anybody else's field. Don't be prideful. If you see somebody having success in the space that you want to be in, don't compete with them. Don't talk shit about them. Learn from them, man. You'll be surprised, man. I've never turned down anybody that's ever asked me for advice and called me, and that was genuine about taking initiative about doing so. So think about that. But lastly, one thing before I wrap up, bro, I do have to say this because I wanted to say this earlier. Uh, so earlier, like probably last year, going into this year, I wanted to really form a production team, and I wanted to form this production team called the Architects. And the Architects consist of me. I wanted to be me, Clef God from San Antonio, my boy Chico from Fort Worth, and my boy S.A. Partner from College Station. I'm not sure if you know S.A.
Oh,
Partner.
shout out to S.A. Putney.
So, dude, let me tell you something, man. This Crystal Poppin' album that we're working on right now, that has been something that I've been really working hard on the last few months. It's finally finished, recorded. We're gonna go into mixing and mastering. We should have the first, well, not the first. We'll have the new single off the project coming in probably in the next 2 to 3 weeks. We just shot the video today. But SA is doing a lot of the production on the project. Me and him are tag teaming on this whole entire project. I've spent so much time on the phone with this guy, and just to kind of like, I really want to give him his props because, I've done a lot of interviews over the last year. And as we've started developing this team, he's been someone that I confide in from a creative standpoint. And so when you hear this Crystal project, I just want people to know that he's very much the other side to that project in terms of the music, in terms of creating the music. I'll call him at 1 in the morning, 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning. I'll call him at 1 in the afternoon. Hey, I got an idea. Can we do this? And he'll just execute it, man. And obviously, still sharp and still, and we're just kind of helping one another develop the sound that you're going to hear in the form of this project, right? This project is going to be. I really believe that people are going to be shocked and it's going to exceed expectations because if the freestyles have given you any indication, by the
Mm.
way, he's recreated all those beats. Those beats were not the beats from the artist. Those were
Yeah,
beats
I knew that. I knew that. That's fire, bro. He's not to be played with, bro. That dude's on something else.
super underrated, right? And I saw a video of him, and it's funny because like I'm a talent scout. You know, something I we didn't talk about is just the fact that I scout talent, bro. It doesn't matter if I go to Starbucks. If I see a kid singing, I think he's dope. I'll get his information. You know, I don't get excited when I meet new talent because I'm one of those guys that likes to see people last. You know what I mean? Uh, but you know, with him, bro, like you know, he's always I saw his videos. I've always known who he was, but I saw a beat that he made for Paul Wall, and I reached out to him. And now Paul Wall's using that as his intro on all the shows that he does when he performs.
Mm.
When I saw that, I was like, this guy got some heat, man. He has it, and he just hasn't been put in the situations, at least not as of recent. And I want to be able to provide him with a pathway. And I told him, listen, man, let's start this production team. Let's go hard. Let's fucking kill it together.
Mm.
But let's start with the Crystal Project. And as soon as the Crystal Project comes out, I promise you everything is going to change. So we've completed the project as of this week. And man,
Nice.
I just want to give him a shout out because, you know, like I said, I don't know if people really understand that, you know, he's playing a big part in this, you know what I'm saying? And yeah, bro, so it's dope.
Can you leak one feature?
Yeah, for sure. So she
Ooh, let's
has,
go.
she has Paul Wall on the project. Obviously, she has Frankie J on the project.
Oh
She
man,
has
that's fire.
I want to save one of the songs, right? I'll save the one of the songs, but
Let's
she
go.
does have a record with Project Pat on the record, you know. So and it's like some real vintage 3 6 Mafia shit. But her and Project Pat, I don't think anybody's gonna know what to expect with that. But
Oh shit, bro.
I can't tell you the rest because then you're
Yeah,
gonna.
yeah. No, understandable. Understandable. Thank you for that, though. That's
You
dope.
gotta do me a
That's
favor. You gotta make me a promise that when you hear this project, bro, do like a review and you
fire.
know.
I got you.
A matter of fact, I can give you an idea today. Mundo Vision, right? That's the name of the podcast, right?
Yes.
So we're gonna do a Mundo Vision review, and it's gonna be like 5 stars by Mundo Vision. Whatever rank you
Let's
get,
go. Hey, that'd be fire. Okay, I'm on with it. One thousand
we're
percent.
gonna start the star ranking, but it should be out June. I want to say June 20th or June 27th is the
Okay.
target date. You know what I'm saying? We haven't really figured that out, but I'm excited, man. Because listen, dude, like Texas is it's in such good shape right now with all the artists that are coming out, all the female representation that's coming out, and listen, man, you know, to conclude as far as Crystal's concerned, the same way I feel about XB, man. These are talents that have always had it there. They, I just I want to be able to pull out something that they haven't gotten pulled out of them yet. Like
Mm.
you gotta pull it out, man. And I feel it so strongly about this project. I feel it very strongly about what XB is doing, man. And I'm excited for them, man. It's gonna be really good for those girls. And then whatever else happens, man, I got some stuff up my sleeve too, man. Stay tuned, dog. Just be careful, man. You know, you'll see some cool shit coming up. You know.
Hell yeah, man. I'm very excited, and you're doing a great job with Crystal and XB, man. I'm very excited to see what they got coming, bro. Um, do you have any? Well, I had a question for you. I had a
No,
question.
ask, bro. I mean, I know we've been going for a while, but
Yeah, I had a. God damn it, I just lost it, bro. I had it in my damn head.
freestyle kid.
First, I want to give some shout out. Shout out to J Vaz, who was in earlier. I don't know
Yeah,
if he's still here.
that's my guy, man. Shout out to Free.
Shout out to Texas Pesci. Shout out to Low Key. Shout out to everybody, man, who tuned in tonight, man. Castro Escobar,
Castro.
Young Casino.
Listen, man, Castro. He's a guy that I spoke to maybe like 2 weeks ago. Man. I had a really good conversation with him, just mentoring him because
Did you?
yeah,
Very talented, man. Very talented.
well, you know, he experienced the loss of his mother. I talked about the loss of my mother. And anytime I get an opportunity, he's a perfect example. Like when I tell you, bro, you'll be surprised. Like there's always this like misconception that like, oh, you're busy, so I don't call you. I'm like, bro, you don't know what I am and what I'm not. You don't know what I'm doing and what I'm not doing. Initiative, man. Take initiative because I have so much years and experience just in my system. I feel like I'm doing the service to the world and to the industry, especially my people, by withholding that. I want to pay it forward. I want to give people ways to get better, and I would love to see you and everybody get better, bro. To be honest with you, like to me, what good is having a gift if you can't give? I'm a giver, bro. I was put on this earth to do this, man, to give back. That's my honest opinion, bro.
I was gonna ask you earlier. This is not not nothing like negative, but were you surprised? Were you
I'm,
surprised about? But this is about the music and stuff like that. Louis the Singer's role in country, bro. Like, were you surprised? Like, Desperado was a fucking hit, bro.
man, listen, dude. To answer that question, I'm not surprised with anything with him. You know what I'm saying? Because like for me, it's like when I met him in 2007, I saw something in this guy that I just knew. Like this guy is a fucking star, bro. Like, and it took a little while to get it on track, but when we started really, hammering it out and really going after it in 2009, 2010, going into 2011, um, man, I would tell anybody that would listen, like, yo, he's that guy, man. Like, all the way through 2012. So it was really unique to see everybody else start saying it 10 years later, 12 years later, 13 years later, however long later, right? Like, I was like, damn, dude, like, I guess I wasn't crazy. Like, I guess I saw something before everybody else saw it, right?
Yeah,
But, I want to be clear too. Like, I don't, I saw a few comments on social media and people were like, it was my idea. It wasn't my idea for him to do that. It was never my idea. That was him doing it on his own. Like, and to be honest with you, like, he's given different variations of how that happened. I don't really know how it happened, to be honest with you. I think he just did it, and he's like, "Yo, this shit feels cool. Like it feels right," and he did it, and it worked. And you know what I'm saying? I came in at a time where, I was able to like we didn't really ask each other to work with each other. We just kind of head nod. Okay, cool. All right, bet. Let's go. And but yeah, man. I mean, I'm not surprised. And I think going back to the Mexican American representation in music, right? There's a void for an artist in his lane. There's a void, really in general. I think there's a void for Mexican American talent in all genres, right?
yeah.
But specifically in that genre, it's so underserved, and there's such a unique story there because it's a redemption story. It's a man. You when you think of the person next door, right? Man, that looks like me. That looks like my cousin. That looks like my brother. That looks like my homeboy from school. There's a certain level of relatability and there's a certain level of authenticity. And many times people try to manufacture artists. They try to mold it to be something that it's really not, right? Like be yourself. Remember what I told you? There's no one's gonna be better at being you than you. You know what I'm saying? So um, to answer that question, like, nah, bro, I'm really not surprised. I mean, if you would have told me in 2009, 2010, 2011, even 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, that his ascension was going to be attached to that genre of music, I probably would have been like, nah, you know what I mean? But I'm not surprised because you know what? To
What,
me, talent always rises to the top.
yes, exactly. No matter what, bro.
Yes,
You can. I mean, things can happen, right? But that talent doesn't go away.
for sure. Like it doesn't matter. Like you can't deny that. And there were so many people that were trying to discredit his ascension, and I was part of that. I was part of seeing people like trying to take credit or trying to take away from what he does. And I have to be honest with, like, I always tell people, like, you have to understand that at some point or another, when you put content into the world, right, it has to be good enough for people to be able to connect with. You understand what I'm saying? And going back to pro wrestling, because I'm a pro wrestling fan.
I see that with Crystal Poppins. You got to earn that world. Shout
Shout out Eddie Guerrero. Hey, shout out. You're right. TNA Wrestling.
out to Eddie Guerrero, man, the GOAT, bro.
Shout out to his daughter. She's been following and showing us a lot of love.
Oh, awesome.
listen, man, like you're either a good guy in wrestling or you're a bad guy in wrestling, right? You're either a baby face or you're a heel. So the role of a baby face is the good guy is to go out there and get the reaction, like let's see him win, rah, right? The role of a heel is to make people react and make them boo. Boo, we don't want you to win, you're the villain, boo, right? Here's the thing. They both, whether you're booing or you're cheering, you're reacting, right? Within music, you know what I'm about to say here, because within music, at some point or another, you have to be good enough to make people react. You gotta make people react, whether they like you or they don't like you. Gotta make them react, and
Yes.
that's only gonna come down to one thing. It's you, right?
Yeah.
A lot of artists put their content in the world and nobody reacts. And I've heard this in pro wrestling. Man, the only time you need to worry about what you do when you go out as a performer, only worry when nobody makes any noise out there. When there's nobody cheering, that's when the fuck you should be worried. You know what I'm saying? But I say that to say, when I've seen people try to discredit, what he's done, I'm like, bro, you have to understand that you still got to be good enough to make people react. So let's just overlook the fact that you're talented. Let's overlook the fact that you're good looking. Let's overlook the fact that you are skilled. You can't those are things you just cannot teach. It's the same thing right now. Like if I'm pushing out a video on an XB Valentine, or if I'm pushing out a video on a Crystal Pop, and let's just say the freestyles, because we go back to the freestyles. I don't know if you've seen the numbers, bro.
Yes.
Yeah, numbers are going crazy.
Crazy.
There is a little bit of polarizing there, right? Where there's some people that love it, there's some people that don't love it, there's some people that get it, there's some people that don't get it, but guess what? They're reacting. You know what I'm saying? And you gotta be able to make people react. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's it, bro. But yeah, I mean, it's cool, bro. It's cool to see that. Somebody said, "What up, baby?" They think I'm baby get the Leah. They think I'm the cumbia king. They used to tell me that in high school all the time, bro.
Why did you say what up, Amy?
They think I'm the cumbia king, dog.
You look like, yo, that's crazy. Hey, you did that video about him when he called out San Antonio, huh?
I did. You know what, man? Me and AB actually were really cool at one point, and when I interviewed Chris, we fell out. And
what was he thinking, man?
Man, listen, I don't dislike AB. AB actually showed me a lot of love. I actually have an interview with him on my YouTube channel. We did an hour and 45 minute interview, and he showed me love. So I feel a little bad, saying for doing that. It was cool, man. I can admit I probably shouldn't have done that one, but it is what it is.
I got a lot of engagement, man.
Sometimes engagement, not all engagement is good engagement.
Yeah. So when you do your little those videos, like you've done several, like with that Puerto Rican rapper, right? What was that? Yeah. So like these videos, like do you write them before? Because you do them so professionally, bro. It's really very good. Do you write them and rehearse them before you do them? I was thinking about that process.
You know what? Yes and no. I have an outline of what I want to do, and I just kind of like, there has to be, just like anything else, an intro, a mid, and an out. And so if I'm a rapper, I treat my pieces of content the same way a rapper treats their 16. The way they treat their 16 bars or their 12 bars. Like I really do put thought into it. But I wouldn't say it's scripted. I guess loosely scripted. I kind of already know what I want to say, but I don't go in there and like I read off the teleprompter. I'm just like, all right.
Yeah. So that's what I do. When I make some clips too, I just get on here and I just edit out all the mess ups or like if I go too far.
You got to remember the average social media consumption is 3 seconds, right? So you really have 2 seconds to catch their attention, because on the third second they're either going to keep watching or they're going to go fuck this shit. We're going to the next. And really, that's maybe not even the average. Most people don't even give it that much time. So the thought behind content for me is you got to slap people in the face the moment it's the feed. It has to be like, yo, what the, whatever, right? Mundo, baby, get the right. You know what I'm saying? It has to go right to it because
Yeah.
that might be the only time that you get people to engage, bro. But yeah, man, I do put thought into it, man. I wouldn't say I scripted, but I just like I know what I want to say. You know what I'm
Because
saying?
the reason I asked is because like you do them so well, so I told myself, should I write my stuff out before? You know what I mean? So maybe I do better. You know?
If I'm giving you advice, I would definitely write it down, practice it on your own, and then whenever you're ready to deliver it, something I saw
Gotcha.
Ice T said this in the art of rap. Ice T said, "Man, I go and I will write a rap, I will read the rap, and I will record the rap. Right when I go record my verse, he said, but then I circle back around. I'll listen to it, I'll hear it over and over and over, and then I'll come back to the studio a few days later, and then I perform it.
Oh, nice.
You understand what I'm saying? So I might write something down, I might read it, I might do it, but then when I get in front of the camera, I have to be like, "Yo, da 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 da, blah 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 blah," right? Like and everybody has a different style, different cadence. Some people are animated with their social media content. Some people are more serious. Some people are informative. But my style has always been to be like a little bit more animated, like
Yeah.
in your face, and not everybody can do that. Trust me, I'm trying to get HB to do it. That's not her style. I feel like she's more of the PSA informative, like, hey, what's going on? My name is Valentine. And,
Gotcha.
that's more of her style. But different strokes for different folks, bro. But I would 100% recommend you to just kind of like go through that and then eventually perform it.
Gotcha. And it's because I feel like it kind of saturates my saturates what I'm saying when I try to write it down and rehearse it
Yeah.
instead of just going in there and just going off. You know what I mean? Because then I'm more passionate, I'm more live. But I feel sometimes I'm not saying what I fully want to because I'm not writing it before. You know what I mean? So I have kind of started write kind of write some scripts and shit like that. But shout out to Lalo. Lalo's in the building. He is Carla's brother. How
Yes,
was it with having Crystal Poppin work with Carla?
I love Carla, man. I think Carla's a really talented girl. She's a smart girl. I think she still has a really strong future, and I'm very impressed with everything that her and her brother have been able to accomplish thus far. And when you talk about Mexican American talent, she's one of those girls that like has done great.
Hey, don't it remind you of Snow and her brother?
Damn, never thought about it. Never thought about it that way. A
Didn't that
little,
crazy?
a little bit, but I think the only reason why, because I've known Snow. I knew Snow since 2008, bro. Like she lived in Fort Worth. You know what I'm saying? So I don't want to say I was there at the very beginning of her career because she was already doing music before she came forward. But I was definitely here before her brother moved down here. And whenever her brother moved down here, I want to say he was a freshman in high school. So
Mhm.
he's younger than her. Lalo's older than Carla, but I see the dynamic. You know what I'm saying? For sure. That's pretty
It's
cool.
pretty. I think it's pretty cool to tell, like what brother and sister little duo and shit like that.
Yeah, for
Okay,
sure.
so you had your ins and outs with Snow the Product, and you ended up being cool with her. You booked her for a show, and you even did a shot with her. And you don't even drink alcohol.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, Snow and me have such a long history, man. And like, I don't know what she'll say about me now, but I've always kind of considered her like a prima in the industry, like because we shared a lot of moments early in our career. We talked a lot. She was the first person to ever encourage me to get into management. She would always tell me I'd be a great manager. I remember she even mentioned it. You should manage me. But we've had conversations. I remember for me, like you know, I wasn't what she wanted me to be. I think early in her career, because she was always about, why doesn't everybody get behind what I'm doing? Why doesn't everybody promote what I'm doing? I think that was something I wasn't ready to do then. You know what I'm saying? Not because I didn't believe in her, because I didn't know how. I didn't know how then. Yeah, but as years progressed, I started kind of learning it, and I was always motivated and encouraged by her words because she would always be very positive about, hey man, you manage, and it was consistent throughout the course of my career. I remember we were in the studio probably around 2017 or 2018, and she's like, bro, you would kill as a manager. You would make so much money as a manager. You're great at what you do. And then in 2019, she flew down. I booked her for a club gig, and she flew down, and we sat down and we had a meeting at the studio. We talked for about 2 or 3 hours about working. It just didn't happen. It just didn't happen. I don't know in what capacity we were going to work, but we talked about working together. And I will say the last time I went to LA, she picked me up from the hotel. We went out to eat, and it felt so good to know that despite after all these years, there's still like a level of respect. Because that video you're talking about, I took a shot with her twice actually, but there's a video that I took a shot with her at the Santa Fe Clan concert, and that to me, that night in specific was meant so much to me because it's like she was playing in the arena, she was opening up for Santa Fe, or she was supporting Santa Fe, and I remember going backstage to the arena because they gave us all access passes. I had four, and I remember looking around and I said, "Man, there's nobody from Fort Worth here except me, right? Other than me and my guest." And she could have given those passes to anybody else, but she still had enough love and respect to be able to do that. And I thought that was so
That's
cool.
dope.
So I vowed to never say anything that's not you know good about her in a sense because we've gone through our history just like anybody else, man. Like this business is very competitive, bro. And so people have a tendency to talk about one another and say stuff about one another, but at its core, nobody really hates each other. Nobody really knows each other enough to hate each other. They might dislike each other professionally, and I could admit that there was times where me and Snow didn't get along for sure. But um, man, she's undeniably and arguably going to go down as the greatest Mexican American female rapper of all time, and possibly the greatest Mexican American rapper of all time. Fuck the gender. You
Let's go, bro. I agree, man.
know what I'm saying?
Let's go.
Like there hasn't been an artist in our community and in what she's been able to do on the touring side over the past 12 plus years. She's toured the country. She's sold out shows. You can't name a male Mexican American rapper that's been able to do that and sustain that over that time period.
Facts.
Only her. And she's never had a platinum hit. She's never had I don't know if she's charted on Billboard, but she's never had the machine be put behind her, and she's been able to connect on this level, and it's so impressive. And her being a woman on top of that, because women, and I know speaking from experience because I manage women, right? They experience a whole different type of hardship. They experience a whole different type of uphill battle, and so to see her do it, and then do it with her family, do it with her brother, do it with her cousin, uh,
Yes.
make it a family business. Is very, very admirable, very respectable, and very impressive. So, you know, I'm glad that I got an opportunity to see that journey. I'm glad that I was in my own small, itty bitty way part of that journey, and I'm proud of it.
Let's go.
Super proud of
Let's
it.
go. Heck yeah, man. Thank you for that. I'm gonna wrap this up, man. I got thank you so much for your time, brother. This was a great conversation. I really learned a lot from you. And
That's where you try to be messy, you fucker.
bro was trying to be messy, wait. But no, for real, Smoothvega, I wish you would really get to know me a little bit more because I'm not a messy person.
I'm fucking with you, dog. I'm fucking with you.
I'm glad. I'm glad because I really do care about the culture, and that's why this interview was very important to me. And I'm glad that you came on my platform and for over an hour and a half. We said 45 minutes. It's been an hour and a half. So, thank you for that. Thank you for giving me your time and just and letting my followers know what it is, man. We're from Smooth Vega and what you've done for the community, for the culture in Texas, should not go unnoticed, man. Thank you so much, brother.
Listen,
For
bro,
real.
I'm gonna tell you thank you. Thank you for everything. I know I was giving you a hard time, but bro, I really
Yeah.
like listen, man, like I didn't want to be an asshole about it. I just needed to let you know because so many
Back.
people wanna start, they wanna be part, they want the tea, right? They all want the tea,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
but there ain't no tea over here. You want tea, go to a
Yeah.
relationship.
Yeah. Of
Go to
course. Like I said,
go to
don't have.
7-Eleven. You know what I'm saying? But I say that to say though, I do appreciate it because you asked some great questions, man, and you brought up a lot of things that nobody's ever brought up, and I appreciate you doing research. And thank you, man. Thank you for the respect. Thank you for being supportive. And just know, man, it's all love, bro. I'm
Thank
not.
you.
I'm just giving you a hard time.
Appreciate it. I'm gonna screenshot. That's gonna be the thumbnail.
You're gonna get censored.
And, so one last question I asked this. I asked this from all my guests. What is your favorite childhood memory? Number one.
Woo, boy, how dare you?
The first thing that comes to mind.
Man, I mean, shit, bro. The first thing that comes to mind is my grandma's house because that's what you're asking. But I just think being with my mom and my brother, dog, like that to me is my favorite memory. I can't specify it because, the older we get, bro, the more that time passes, the more you're like, fuck,
It
bro.
gets cloudy, right? Yeah.
And we own my grandmother's house, so I still drive to her house and I'll park in the parking lot, just eat there by myself because nobody
Oh,
lives
really?
there. Yeah, bro. It's like it brings me peace, bro. I love being like, bro. It's just crazy, man. Like time passed way too fast, bro.
Yeah. It does, brother. It does, man.
So I
It's
miss,
like the older we get, the faster time goes.
bro. It's already fucking April of 2025.
Felt like it was New Year's Eve last week.
It's crazy, bro. But keep doing your thing, man. I'm happy for you, man. I'm proud of you, man. Stop being so goddamn messy, bro. I'm gonna start leaving comments on your Facebook and what messy ass. I just play with you, bro. Hey, but stay online. After we go live, I'm gonna chop it up with you real quick. We'll call it night.
Okay, cool. All right, let me go ahead and end live. Guys, please hit the like button. Please, if you're watching on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. Okay, we just passed 5,000 subscribers. That was a huge milestone for me. Thank you for everybody for getting me there. 5,000 subscribers was a huge deal. Thank you so much. My watch hours have been going insane with these interviews. So thank you for that too. Thank you for watching all the way through. So please help a Mexican out and hit the like button. It helps my algorithm, okay? Comment below. Okay, if you're watching on Facebook, hit the follow button, hit the like button, all the same good stuff. Instagram, same thing, follow button, okay? Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. This was a great interview. I appreciate your time. Thank you, Smoothvega.
I hope I didn't let you down.
No, you did great, man. The man is like, bye, people. I appreciate y'all. Shout out to Clarissa, to the Seals. Bye, guys. We're out of here.
I don't even know if people were there people in your live. I didn't even see the chats.
You can't. There's a bunch of people commenting like crazy.